Hi everyone, it's Adrian Leah. This is going to be an informal slash rant video of me talking about some of the differences between the Norse Ragnarok movie and Norse mythology. I'm not going to go through every difference in the movie, mainly because I don't have a lot of space on my phone to make a long video like that. So I'm going to briefly talk about some differences that I noticed that really popped out to me when I was watching the movie. I understand that Marvel has their own storylines and their own depictions of gods and goddesses and other things that are incorporated into the movie from Norse mythology. So, and some things that they added to it. So, I'm going to talk about some of those things. So, the first one I want to point out is in the very beginning when Thor was holding his hammer with both hands. And I know that sounds like a minor detail, but it happened right from the beginning, and I was like really interested to see what the movie was going to turn into. So, with it coming from Norse mythology and the gifts that the hammer is one of the gifts that Thor received. So, the hammer was made by two dwarves, Brock and Eitri. They were in competition with the three sons of Ivaldi, and Loki put them up to this because Loki, backtracking, stole Sif's hair, and Sif is the wife of Thor. So he went to the three sons first and basically saying, well, I heard that Brock and Eitri could make are better craftsmen. And they're like, that's not true. I'm sorry, this is my cat. So then Loki went to Brock and Eitri and was starting a feud with them. And they were already thinking that Loki has something to do with this. But they agreed to the challenge for Loki's head. So Loki was trying to stop them from making better gifts for the gods than the three sons because they also made it more personal. So they decided to ask Loki if he would agree if they won that he would wager his head, like cut off his head. So Loki decided, well, he agreed to it, but he turned into a fly. And as Brock was creating, as they were both creating the hammer, Loki turned into a fly and started messing with Brock just to make sure that he messes up the creation of the gifts for one of the gifts for the gods, because they're like he didn't want them to win. So he started messing with Brock and Eitri because he didn't want to lose his head. So when they were presenting, well, when Brock was presenting the gift to Thor, he was saying that he messed up while they were creating creating the hammer, but Thor was okay with it because he was really intrigued by the stuff that the hammer could do. So basically, the main flaw was that the handle was short, so he would only be able to grip it with one hand. That's what I was getting at with that whole spiel. So another thing that I noticed after that was that Thor was flying with his hammer, and he flies with his chariot and his 2 goats. So that was another detail that I noticed. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is the relations between the gods, and specifically the goddess Hel, or Hela as referred to in the movie. So Odin is the Allfather, but he is actually the blood brother of Loki, which is different in the movie. Thor is the son of Odin. Hel is actually the daughter of Loki. Loki has 3 monstrous children. I'm not going to get into the children that he has with Sigyn, but one of them being Hel again, and she takes in the dead who have not died in battle. So another one is the Midgard serpent, who lives in the water, and Fenrir, who is the giant wolf that you see in the movie. So Ragnarok is really different in the movie compared to what you see in text. Again, these are my interpretations. And again, Marvel has their own storylines and depictions. I'm not going to mention all the differences that happen during Ragnarok in the movie, but I am going to mention some things that happened during this time. So Hel isn't the instigator of Ragnarok, but she does play a role in it. In the beginning, Loki comes in with the Ship of the Dead. He escaped from the underworld, from his imprisonment, because he plotted the death of Balder, who is the son of Odin and Frigg, so he's not in the storyline in the movie. So Heimdall, who is the watchman of the gods, he sounds his horn to let the gods know that Ragnarok has begun. So Heimdall and Loki end up killing each other. In the movie, Odin dies early. He dies during Ragnarok by Fenrir, who again is the son of the giant wolf, who is the son of Loki. Fenrir also ends up killing Tyr, who is the god of war, and he also has his hand missing from Fenrir because his hand was in Fenrir's mouth when Fenrir was being challenged to break chains that were made for him to not be able to break it. So the gods had chains made because they wanted to trap Fenrir, but he broke out during this time. So he also ends up devouring the sun. Although Odin dies, Odin's son Vidar ends up killing Fenrir. So the Midgard serpent also dies, but Thor dies from the Midgard serpent's poison, but his legacy reigns on with his children because his children survive and both of them hold his hammer, which is another thing backtracking, that when Thor was given his hammer, he was told by Brock and Eitri that the hammer is indestructible, and it gets destroyed in the movie before Ragnarok. So Surt, which is the one with the flaming sword, he is the one that you see in the beginning of the movie. He gets killed by Freyr, and they end up counteracting each other. And I definitely don't think it's coincidental that when you read about it, that, well, Freyr is the god of rain. He allows harvest. He's the peaceful one. The people that follow him love him. He's the son of Nord, who is the sea god. So Freyr ends up dying because he misses with his sword. And because previously he gave his sword away in order to get the hand of Gerd. So they end up dying. Balder ends up coming back because he's brought back to life, assumably because Loki is dead. So Hel would allow Balder to come back if all the living things mourn Balder's death. And the one living thing was Loki. So that was fortunate for him. And once Ragnarok ended, eventually life began again. So it's a story of a cycle. In the movie, they forced Ragnarok to happen, so in order to defeat Hela in the movie. And Hulk was in there, so that was the difference. In Norse mythology, there are a lot of giants and dwarves, elves, rights. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video, so if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see, you can let me know, and I'll plan on making more videos around certain topics, or if you ask me something specific. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.